Welcome, welcome, welcome to the breakdown, episode 112. I'm your host, Tanya Lee, and Johanna Burkhardt is here with us.
I am here. Are you ready? Oh, there it is. Yes. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Good gracious.
That's how we roll.
We
Relate
do.
to our own party.
Wow. Always.
Divas are ready.
All right. If you're hopping on YouTube, make sure you say hello. We love Artie, audience participation.
We sure do. And we're wearing our tinfoil hats.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening and not looking.
I made mine look a little bit, I wanted to make mine in perfection mode to Loki.
How long did that take you?
2 minutes. It really didn't take me that long.
Dude, mine took forever and I look like you guys can't even see.
It's a little gnome hat. I love it.
I do look like a gnome. Huh?
You do look like a gnome. I put you in my backyard. You're so cute.
I like gnomes. They're cool. I was just reading about elves a little while ago, so it's fitting. I just needed the brim. That was it. That's all I cared about.
You wanted to have a brim on your hat.
Yeah, and a top. My son said, "Mom, are you trying to look like a unicorn?" I said, "No, but I mean, if it fits."
If it fits, make it work, right?
Right. So
today,
who's ready to do telepathy?
Yeah. That's going to be exciting. I don't know how many people are on yet. I don't see anyone. Whoever's on, please say hello, wave to us, let us know that you're here, because this is going to be
hanging
major participation for some of the stuff that we're going to be discussing outside of that, though.
Yeah. So what is with the tinfoil hats, though? Let's discuss where this came from, because what is the movie that this came from?
Well, it's been around for a while. It actually came from a book.
Blank.
The signs are
Signs.
Yeah.
This is like the best part of the whole movie is when they're in they open the closet. They're all with their tinfoil hats on, and you can't help but to bust out laughing, because that movie is kind of like a little bit serious at times, you know.
Right.
But then the guy opens the closet and they're all sitting in there with the tinfoil hats on, and you just can't help yourself.
Yeah.
You immediately want to go make one.
I love them. They're supposed to, it's, the conductor of stopping electromagnetic. So anything that is going through your brain waves is stopped, and, you're safe. I think it became more of a popularity with the movie, but also in sci-fi, I think it was based on a old comic that came about.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Well, do we want to get started?
Yeah, let's get started. Let's talk about telepathy.
I'm just going to share this out real quick.
Look at you sharing away. So what most people think with telepathy is it's just reading your thoughts, but it can be more than that, because we're all made out of energy. So being that, if you can understand that and, consider that, everything is energy. It's not just reading a person's mind. It could be an animal. It could be a feeling. It can be more than just a thought. And with pseudoscience, they have broken it down to all different kind of categories, where you have ESP, telepathic, all different kind of sensories. But it's basically a sixth sense. And with telepathy in general, you always have a receiver and a sender. And the point is one goes from point A to point B. And, when you think of it as collective energy, and how is that possible that everybody could read each other's minds, and how come we're not doing it more on a daily basis? We all kind of are already. We just aren't always tuned in to every single person, because that would be crazy. We'd probably be on the floor.
Some things I don't want to know. There's sometimes I'm like, God, I do not want to know what that person is thinking. I just,
right.
And then there's sometimes when you get it and you're like, I really wish I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I think that, there are things that you can do to help tune yourself in, to hone yourself into a person. But the way I like to describe it is a node. So like if you have, one node and one person is, if you're in the same vibration as that person, they're easier to read. So your loved ones, your animals, those are going to be the ones you're going to probably pick up the quickest because you're in the same frequency as them. So
sometimes,
yeah,
I can tell you there are definitely times when I am not on the same frequency as my children. Actually, let's just be real. Nobody's on the same frequency with me in this house, but on a normal level, there's times when you're not going to be a frequency match, but then there's times when you're going to walk into a place and you're just going to be talking about something and someone's going to look at you and they're going to be like, I was just thinking that. And it's just because even if you're not on the same frequency, some people just have really big auras. And when they have really big auras and you get into their field, you're reading their energy field without even knowing it. You're just absorbing it and it's pulling into you. And you don't even know why you're saying it or why all of a sudden you're wanting something or talking about it. It's coming out. And so you're right when you say telepathy really isn't just mind reading. It's really energy reading, honestly.
It really is. And it's also in a level of, you bring up a really good point with how, when you're reading, it's not, you just don't know why a thought comes in your head. If you can detach yourself knowing that it's not necessarily your thoughts that are coming through, that we're all collective and nothing is really technically our own to some extent.
Thank God you said that.
Then you can kind of step back and look at that. You can go, oh, wait a minute. Like, wait a minute. That's why, like, if you're in a meeting and you work really well with the team and you guys are like, I was just about to say that, or yeah, I'm thinking of that same idea, because you guys are in that same energy field and you're both, in that vibration of creating and coming up with things. Doesn't mean that you're going to have all the same ideas. But
but I want to say something on this because especially in the age of social media, have you ever noticed like you have this great idea and you have these buzzwords, right? And the next thing you know, you're looking on social media and freaking everybody is using your words and you're like, what the heck, man? Who stole my idea? And here's the thing. And this is where, when you get to a certain level on your spiritual journey, this is where I am right now, is you don't really resonate anymore with labeling or with patents and trademarks and registers. And I'm going through this right now with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. And I don't like the energy that comes with it, because it's true. We are all pulling from the same source energy, and we're filtering it through our own consciousness or our own mind or our own ego or our own filter, whatever you want to call it. And it's spitting out its own flavor of that. And so when you go to do that kind of thing, at least that's where I am. And it feels icky because it's really, nobody really owns anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you get detached from it and realize that then it doesn't feel so bad, because you're like, well, wait a minute.
Shout out to Paul Burkhart, who is now on the live stream.
Oh, very cute.
Very cute. So cute. No, but that's the truth. It's so you just being in someone else's energy and literally saying something that they were just thinking, or you're thinking something and then next thing you do, you see it on TV, right? So, that's falling into more of the synchronicity, but it's really, you're just, whatever's in your field is there, it's all transmitting energy, and you're like a beacon, right? Like we're really beaconing out today with these foil hats, but you're just a beacon, and you're putting that energy out there, and then you're going to receive the same thing. So telepathy is so much more than just reading of the minds.
Yeah. And I think that, too, with telepathy is, there's so many things that go with it, because it's not just one thing. Like you said, like it could be synchronicities. It's also the law of attraction.
Yep.
It's that we're all collective energy. And, that's why when they, say that if you're thinking of something, in 24 hours, you might look at something and say, I'm going to look for unicorns and see if the universe will show me unicorns. Well, there's two ways you can look at it. You're actually so fixated on unicorns that you all of a sudden notice that they're there, or you can let it go and say, I just told the universe I need unicorns, and I just put out that wave out here, and now I'm going to get them in every form that you can imagine in the next 24 hours.
What you focus on, you create. What you focus on, it expands. So, and if you have Alexa or Facebook, if you say one word, they will populate your feed with it. I swear to you. I'll search one thing like on my laptop, and before you know it, it's on my phone, it's on the TV. It's like the house is bugged.
Well, one thing that I noticed, and these are things that also that you can notice too, and not just thoughts, but like, here's a really good example that, let's say you're driving down the road, right? And you stop at a light and you just have that feeling that someone is looking at you. You just know it. And then you turn and you guys both look at each other like, what the hell? But that's a sixth sense. That's a feeling. You guys are, your energy, you're feeling an energy thing. It's actually something that's based on animal instinct as well. Yeah. And one of the first things, and especially exercise wise, that is good practice for this is with your animals, is that you can do this with your animals, just, not just loved ones, is, have them in the other room or something. But one of the tricks that I had seen was the hello trick, meaning that you can say hello, 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 and then start saying it slower and slower. And then to the point where you're not saying it anymore. And then you're saying it into your mind. And then you're not saying it anymore. And you're just kind of giving them a look. And then they will come to you. But animals are energy readers. They don't know all the time what you're saying.
Cats are transmuters.
Yeah.
Cats literally are healers, and they are from the Lyran race. And Miss Cat Lady over here, how many cats do you have?
I got 6. I'm switching hats.
They will, I notice when you've done healing work, I know you've said one of them or multiple of them will come and sit on you. Like
Loki.
They're absorbers. They're like, here, let me help you. And my dog's the same way. My dog is really fat. I call him my empath sponge. He's just protective weight for me.
Yeah. So anytime I have an energy healing done and I usually do it at the comforts of my home, and I'm lying on my couch, my cat Loki on par would come up and be on my root chakra, right? And this is not a cat that would sit on me a lot. And she's unfortunately my heaviest cat, Princess Chunk. I remember like my mentor would be like, tell me to breathe. And I'd be like, I can't breathe, I got this cat on me. But she's always there as like an assistant. And it became this thing because she would only come in when we were doing these healings. Like it was, most would say it's bizarre. And I would be like, nope, she's just totally reading the energy. Like she knows something's up.
Yeah, we have a guest comment that says, I literally was just thinking about a friend of mine, and not even 5 minutes later got a message saying good night. And this is funny because in the early, well, it wasn't really early stages, but I was driving through town one day and there was a person who lives in a nearby town close to me. And I was driving by and I just got this overwhelming energy that I needed to reach out to her, that something was wrong. And we have to think about, there is a higher version of ourselves, or our energetic body, if you will, right? So that's what people call the higher self. It's just our energetic body, pretty much. And it's like they're communicating, right? That person's and mine were communicating, saying, I need you, and me saying, okay. And I immediately called her. She did not answer, but I left her a message. I said, I don't know what's wrong, but I felt really called to just reach out to you right now. I hope everything's okay. And she called me, I think later that day or the next day. And she said, when you called me, I had just found out some bad news and I was in the middle of a meltdown. And she literally just couldn't pick up the phone. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm, glad everything worked out or whatever. But it's the same thing. Like our minds, we're going to reach out to the person who needs us, that we're connected to. We get their soul family. So like Tanya and I are definitely soul family. One of our mentors is definitely a piece of my soul family. Like there's just certain people we know when something's wrong with one another and when we need to reach out. Even if we have no reason to believe, like they haven't posted anything, they haven't messaged us, We just get this strong knowing that something's not right and we need to reach out. That's a form of telepathy as well, because your higher levels of your energy is connecting. They're communicating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's for sure. We've done that so many times with each other, where we've messaged each other out of the blue and said, well, that's just funny.
What's wrong? What's happening?
What's going on? Okay, then that must have been it. Then we're good.
Right.
And end the conversation. We're good.
Well, and when we were getting ready to do this, well, as soon as the episode was named that it was going to be telepathy, I started receiving information as far as from my galactic collective. They just want to be called the collective of beings that show up for me. And telepathy was always meant to be the original language. It was never there was never supposed to be language, right? It was just this telepathic communication. But this is where they say, and take this or leave it, right? But what they tell me is that as we became more separate, right? You guys hear in the spiritual world all the time talking about you're separating or disconnected from source. But what happened is, as the more and more we became separated, and we're starting to forget that we have this higher level of being and knowing and access to this information, we started developing ways to communicate. And so it actually started with toning and sounds, like through the jungles, and they would belt out certain sounds and they would communicate with tribes, and it would carry through the forest and things like that. And as they got further and further separated, it ended up turning into where the toning wasn't doing enough. So they started creating glyphs, or images that created, like, one glyph would be like a whole freaking sentence. And then that wasn't working enough, right? So we got further separated. And this is where the human language and letters started coming in. And it was crazy to think about that. But in reality, we were never meant to have an English language, or any other language for that matter. It was always meant to be through telepathy. And so when people start to remember, right, which is pretty much what an awakening is, you're remembering things, and tuning into that higher level of energy, you start sensing things. So last week on our episode, we had a girl that won a contest, and she, it's not like she's new to this, but she wasn't really tuned into her, let's say, her intuitive gifts. And she messaged me and she said, right before you said my name, I heard my name. And then you said it. And she's like, that's been happening more and more. And I was like, that's amazing, right? You're tuning in to that higher level of frequency, whether it's your higher self or you just hearing me or whatever, it really doesn't matter, right? You're tuning into it.
Yeah. And it's also being aware that we aren't separate.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because we are programmed, especially in society, that we can't lose our individuality. We need to be separate. And that's not necessarily the case. You can still be an individual, but in the level of knowing that everything's connected, it does open all of these doors. And there is those patterns where things start coming to light, in that level. And there's, when they call telepathy or sixth sense a pseudoscience, because science is it's not as old to say. I mean, but when you have something in science, they want to put something like the scientific method to it and debunk it, which is, great. I love science. I'm a big science nerd. So I have a lot of respect for, the scientific method. But when you have something like this and they can't debunk it, then it just kind of becomes a pseudoscience. Like, well, it's a pseudoscience, but we can't debunk it. But yet we can say that the tests have failed because of probability or doesn't follow the scientific method. So they just kind of put it in this category like pseudoscience. So, there are a lot of people who just don't believe in that, and that's cool. That's fine. But when you have something like this, where you see the history, especially of how some of this have come about, or people testing it, I'm always amazed by that, because these aren't exercises that we would typically do every day. However, we aren't aware that sometimes we are doing this stuff.
We're always
doing it already.
It's funny when people call themselves a channel. I'm like, I channel all the time. I was channeling before I knew I was channeling. We're always channeling. We're always pulling information in from somewhere.
Right.
And it comes in, it files. You'd be amazed. Some people just know the most randomest shit. And you're like, how do you know all this? You're like, I don't know. Like my husband, for example, he's like the genius or the data bank of useless information. Nothing wrong with it. He's a funny guy, and it helps keep him entertained.
Whereas, those people are needed.
No, they are. They really are. Because
they really are.
If you're having a bad day, you really want some useless information.
You really do.
You don't want anything that's serious. But then you got my son, on the other hand, who's like a freaking walking encyclopedia of every conspiracy theory and everything that's ever happened in the world. And you're like, where do you know this from? You're 12, So you're always pulling stuff in from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really the cool thing on there. And I think that, with some of the exercises that we're going to bring up tonight, these are things you can do on your own. A lot of these are visual. So for our audience per se, since it's mostly audio, we're going to leave in a description some of the things that you can do so that you guys can do this on your own. And we'll just talk on a high level of some of the experiments that have been done through the years. I know. One of the coolest, I always thought was pretty cool because I, like the idea of a card game, is the Zenner cards. Zenner cards was done by Carl Zenner. This was like in the 1930s. And he did this with J.B. Rhine, one of his colleagues, and they were both psychologists. And what they wanted to do was debunk telepathy. And so what they did is they came up with a deck of 25 cards with specific patterns that were 5 patterns. You had a plus sign, you had a square, you had a circle, you had waves, and then you had a star. And then they just brought random people in the room and then would go ahead and pick a card for them to say which one it was. It's a matching, kind of like a matching game, but like guess what the card is,
Yeah.
But here's the thing, that's probability too. But at the same time, it can't help wonder, like, this is also how most gamings are in there, is like, ooh, guess what it is? Guess what's behind door number 1? Guess what's behind door number 2?
Well, we were talking about The Price is Right last week.
Yes. Yes. These are games that already exist. So, they are so much history on this Zenner card thing, which I think is hysterical. Just for reading some of the stuff, there's a handbook called the Skeptical Handbook of Pseudoscience. And they have all these weird statistics on some of these people who have done, these Zenner card tests, but they could never prove that it existed because it's a lot of probability involved. But what I found funny were the statistics, because they said about 79% guessed out of the 25 cards, guessed about 3 to 7. That's actually, when I started to do the Zenner cards, I was getting mostly in that range. Sometimes on like my tuned in day, and when I say tuned in, the way I would tune in is I would meditate before. It was definitely higher because I relaxed myself. I centered myself. I was in the zone. So that, is a less percentage. But what I found interesting was they said anyone who was 20 to 24, and this is all math. Of course, they didn't get this many people, but 20 to 24 was 1 in 5 billion. It was 1 in 5 billion of a chance.
What?
Yeah.
You have a better shot of getting bit by a shark or electrocuted.
Yeah. If you guessed all 25 right, it was 1 in 300 quadrillion. Quadrillion. Like what? Where are they getting these numbers?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So
that was the card game we're going to do?
Yeah. So this is the psychicscience.org. We're going to put this link up for you guys so that you can play on your own as well. But Johanna, I don't know if you can pull that up just so we can take a look at it. I don't know how many people are on here.
We got a few more. So we'll see.
I see my niece is on here. She should be in bed.
Oh, is that Anna?
Yes.
Okay. So this is
So this is the Zenner card game, and this is a site that you can actually do this with a friend too. There's a Clairvoyance one that's up top. That's for when you're just playing against the AI, the computer, right?
Okay, so we're doing telepathy, right?
No, telepathy. We're not going to do that because we're picking the card for them. We're going to do Clairvoyance, but we can play with them.
Well,
so the telepathy one is when you have a friend, like let's say Johanna, she would pick a card and then say, okay, I selected a card, and then I would go ahead and guess. And so it's more manual. I wouldn't see actually what she was doing in there. And then we take that time to do it. So we're going to do the clairvoyance one because we're going to play the computer, which is going to randomly select these on there.
So what do we do?
So what we do is you hit the start button.
Right now?
Yep.
All right. Are you guys ready? We need like a drum roll. Okay. Wait, we don't have one. So we're just going to hit start. Okay.
All right. So now it's gray. So now we have to use, you probably want to take that hat off, Johanna, because it's blocking your waves. I'm just saying.
Not blocking my waves.
Or maybe you can debunk the tinfoil hat and keep it on. It's debunk two things and break it down.
It's intensifying my connection.
It's supposed to do the opposite. It's blocking. All right. So we have the circle, the plus, the waves, the square, and the star. Which shall it be?
I'm going with waves.
I'm going to say the plus.
Okay. Now what do we do?
You're going to pick waves and see what it is. Oh, it's a circle. Bum, bum, bum. Not as easy as you think.
It's not. Okay. It's always, okay. So I have a little tip for you guys. And this is where you get in that connection with your higher self. So when you ask the question, it's always the first thing generally. It's usually the first quiet thing you hear. When you second guess yourself, this is when you get in trouble. So I'm going to quiet my mind. Well, see, now I'm hearing circle, but it's because I just saw the circle.
I say I'm seeing square.
All right, we'll go with yours.
Oh,
I got it right.
Got it right. There you go.
All right. Are you ready? Let's do it one more. Let's do it again.
Sure.
I'm going to get addicted to this, and I'm going to be doing this all the time
You
can
do this on cards and put it on your head. That's what I do. I play that a lot. On
we need to be an app. We need an app for that. Okay. Okay, I know what I'm getting. What are you getting?
Star.
Okay, I'm getting squiggles.
Okay, the waves.
Yeah, sure. Oh shit, we're both wrong.
It's not as easy. So now we're at what? 4 cards. We have how many hits? Oh, we didn't get any hits. We got 1 hit for you, but it didn't get hits because you picked mine.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
On you. All right, here we go. What?
I never said I was telepathic.
I'm very telepathic, but I'm also on the spot right now.
It's harder when you are on the spot, but I also find that I do better when I'm not thinking about it at all.
No, because you're super
like,
present. So right now you're focusing, you're like, oh my God, what's the answer? What's the answer? And I always tell people, if you want to know the answer, stop asking the question, go do something else. It'll come to you. Okay, so what is this one?
Let's give it a minute. I'm going to say plus.
I'm going star.
Okay. Yes. Ooh, you're really tuned in. That's 2 for you.
My beacon, man.
You're actually debunking. Yeah, you're debunking the foil hat. That's great.
Okay. All right.
All right. We got 1 more in us.
Okay. I'm going with square.
Square, huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to say waves.
Yes.
You're really good.
I'm reading my energy now. I was like, why wasn't I doing this the whole damn time? Okay. All right. I finally got a hit on it though. Okay. What do you got?
Circle.
Plus.
Okay.
Neither one of us right.
You know what's I think is also hard too, because sometimes like if you're concentrating on it, some of this I used to get the plus and the square always mixed up. Always those two. And I was always too off.
Well, I noticed that when I was reading my energy that some of them were hitting, but not as strong. So I almost feel like the computer is running and it's like, it could be this. Wait, oh, it could be this now. Oh, wait, it could be this now, like a casino machine.
Yeah, they should make this a slot machine. They probably run out of money. All the psychics coming in.
Oh my God. One message. If you get it right, you get a message. Like people would be on this, like fly on train.
We should make an app for it.
Yeah, I told you, an app for that.
We can bring Zenner back. He'd be so happy. Pay homage to Zenner. And they got so discredited because of cheating, because they did these on like old school cards. So they were like debunking it with like indentions and like, oh, they were drawing, people could recognize when they were drawing it because sometimes they wouldn't have them pre-made. So they would draw them. So like they were like, there were some really funky things of debunking it. But the thing is when you're a skeptic, you're not going to believe it no matter what. So it's like,
no, that's the truth. If you already have a preset thing that this is not the truth, that this is not possible, you've put yourself in a box, you've closed the lid. It don't matter if we come and bang the door down. It's not going to change anything. So this is why I always say, if we say something that in any of these episodes that you are triggered by or whatever, it's just let it go, because seriously, we're not going to sit and argue with you. It's not worth our energy. Like
we're going to agree to disagree.
Exactly. And then
just be like, that's cool.
Red velvet cake. Maybe not, but it could be. We could have fun with that. I like the animal exercise though.
Yeah.
So anybody who does the animal exercise, listen, I can't do that with my cat. She definitely came down with the alien activated in her. She bounces off the wall and just does the craziest stuff. So that won't work with her. The dog, maybe.
I am, because also animals read differently. Certain, especially specific kind of animals will read differently, body language and so forth. So it's always interesting to see, between a difference, even between a cat and a dog, like who comes to you and so forth. But yeah, animals are a really good source to work for, because that's instinctual for them, is energy. So they know right off the bat. That's what they use to communicate. Whereas we're focused on language and, listening and technology. And that's how, all of these things we have in us and we've used. But when, you get to that fine age of being taught things, you kind of lose it, because there becomes no need for it. Like, oh, I have to rely on this now, or this is what we rely on. It's the same thing of the brain and the heart. What do you listen to, the brain or the heart? If some people wouldn't even understand if you said to them, you have to listen to your heart. And they're like, what does that mean?
The brain is the heart leads the brain, which is the truth. Because you got to think about it. I think we talked about this last week, that the mind and the body is so freaking primitive. I mean, it was made for survival. It was made to keep us safe. And now that applies to money and love and, all these other masks. It's no longer the tiger that's trying to eat you. I'm sure people probably feel that way, but so we always have to remind ourselves that while technology has evolved and language has evolved and transportation has evolved, our bodies have not. And though now we can just buy new body parts, right? Or get plastic surgery or, titanium parts. It always annoys me when I hear that, because I'm like, your body is your car. It's your house. And no, I didn't always feel this way, but I do now. And I understand it now. And You wouldn't put fake gas in your freaking Maserati and then be like, well, it's cheap and it's whatever. You wouldn't put that junk in your Maserati, yet we will fill our bodies with the most absurd shit. And yes, I've done it. So I know, but it's the thing. And then we're like, oh, well, we can just get new parts, right? We can just get plastic surgery or a new hip or, fake boobs or whatever. No
Take things
judgment
for
here. I don't
granted
care.
until we're robots.
Right. I'm serious. Some people, and listen, if you need a new hip, by all means, go get a new hip. That's not what I'm saying, but
let's put that discretion right now, that disclaimer out there. We're not saying don't get
it. My point is, we've come to the era of we don't take care of our bodies and we just think, well, we can just get it replaced, or whatever. And so I don't know. It's just not the same anymore. We just have to take care of our bodies and listen to our bodies and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's.
I think.
You think? It's true. It's true. I think, our body is our source. And especially with things that are a sixth sense, our body sources that. So why would we take care of that to utilize those skills? And even if you're not a believer, why wouldn't you even take the chance to utilize them? Because they're pretty cool things.
Like freaking amazing, man.
Yeah.
This stuff, man. It's one thing I was talking about this not that long ago. I see energy differently than people. And, this is more in the avenue of clairvoyance. And a lot of times, this is the biggest thing I get is people are like, I can't see in my third eye. My third eye is not open. And you look at them and their third eye's like, whoa, it's like beaconed. And you're like, what are you talking about? But they don't understand the way they see. And this was me. I didn't close my eyes and see a movie screen playing like so many people think. I had to keep my eyes open. And not only would I see physical energy with my eyes open, but I would see without seeing, if that makes sense. So it was like I knew what I was seeing without physically seeing anything. And that is actually a very high level of clairvoyance that I've been told by someone who proclaimed to be an expert. But so take that with what you will. But it's interesting because we label that these are the way that even with the higher level gifts, we think we have to see a certain way, and it's like, no, you define what that means, and how you see doesn't necessarily, it's not the way Tanya sees. Tanya sees way different than I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your husband sees differently than you. He's colorblind, right?
Yeah, which gives him almost like an advantage, if you ask me. Now, he hates when we talk about his color blindness. I'm just going to pull that out there right now.
Oh.
I saw rainbow rays yesterday and he's like, stop reminding me that I can't see the rainbow. Which, I'm sorry. I just forget those kind of things. But he has a depth perception that I don't have. Right? He just does, in a needle in the carpet, he's going to find it before I do because he can isolate that. And when you can isolate that, it actually makes you a higher receiver of seeing energy. And he sees outlines and, he probably won't even tell me half the stuff he sees, but that's his journey. But we all see differently. And I kind of wish he was here right now. And if you're online, you can put it in the comments, but there's actually a really high percentage of, especially men, of people that are colorblind. And I never knew that.
Yeah. I had a story. I worked with somebody, he's not on, but he'll probably watch this. I worked with somebody back in the day, and we were creating something. And I remember I made this remark, he's a programmer. I made this remark like, can't you see it? Are you colorblind? And he goes, well, yes, I am. I'm colorblind. And I was like, well, I don't even know what to say to this. Put my foot in my mouth and walk out of the room. Right. It's like you just don't realize sometimes, or even the things that you say, you're like, how can you not see that? Right. What do you mean you don't see it that way?
It doesn't even have to be colorblind. Do you know how many people see right through things? Like, this is where car accidents come in and people trip and fall. They're so they're preoccupied up in your head, right? going over something that you're not paying attention, or you're tunnel visioned. God, that was me. I was a tunnel visioner. That's how I drive. I'm a tunnel visioner. I'm not looking around. I'm like, this is all I see. I'm in the zone. So you get tunnel vision, and then you walk, and then you're not seeing in front of you, and you don't pay attention. So we don't even have to be, God, it's crazy. You don't have to be colorblind to not see shit.
And it's not just seeing things. This is the same notation as meditation as well, because when you are quieting your mind, you are letting stuff out. You are just acknowledging that it's there, but you are also tuning things into the point of peace, so that you're actually focusing. You're becoming more and more focused. And then you don't even realize you're doing it. You're just becoming more and more focused. So of course you're going to be more open to feeling things or getting messages and things like that. And that's why it is so important, even like with some of the stuff, is to do a meditation ahead of time. There was another experiment done back in the 30s by Harold Sherman. He was a author, but he had done an experiment with this guy, Hubert Wilkins. He was an Australian. Why this guy was a polar explorer, I don't know, but he was in the Arctic.
He was a polar explorer.
Yeah, an Australian. Wait, I don't know.
Wait. Back up a minute.
Yeah. So there was an Australian.
Who
was a polar explorer. I guess he was like, shit, I'm getting out of this hot weather. I'm going to go explore this coldness because this is bullshit. Anyway, he went to the Arctic, right? And Harold was in New York City, and they decided for 5 months that they were going to do an experiment with telepathy, right? So they decided that a particular time during the day, end of day. Now, of course, there's a time difference between the Arctic and New York City, but they picked a specific time of day.
I got a whole subject on that one. Keep going.
And they cleared their minds and said, this is when we're going to be a sender and a receiver, and we're going to either have a feeling or we're going to have a thought, and then we're going to document it. So they each knew exactly when they were the sender and the receiver, and they documented this. Okay. For 5 months, these people did this, these two guys. They were more than 60% accurate.
Wow.
These aren't people that really like knew each other that well. However, it was still considered falsified or debunked because people couldn't wrap their head around it, or they were finding something that could be considered a coincidence, like that can't be possible, or you guys knew each other's routines daily, kind of thing like that. So, anything that they could find that would be considered an excuse, they would call it a debunk.
And this was in the 30s.
That was in the 30s.
Well, what's interesting is I've been watching a lot of new stuff has been brought into my my YouTube channel. And I've been watching a lot of people that are more, you would label them conspiracy theorists, but these are people that were or are somehow connected to official documentation, where like they get or have seen official documentation, either in the government or somewhere else, in NASA, whatever, and just putting information out there. And I want to say that this stuff, these things, this isn't anything like we hear the word new age, right? This is something that's out there a lot. And a lot of this stuff that we talk about now, it's been around for a very long time. And, before we had any type of book documentation or anything. And so you would be surprised at actually what the government knows and what they're not telling, right? We have no clue, just like we have no clue. Anything that we're saying right now could all be crap, right? But we're open to the possibility that it's correct or that there's something there, right? I'm just open to it. So you would be so surprised. So I love that this was in the 30s. I love that there's a book about it. I kind of want to read it or look at it. Because I'm like, this is so interesting.
Well,
Harold talk about why they were Australian in the polar. I mean, is this brought up?
It's the statistics are in a book called, I think it's The Thoughts Through Space is the statistics book. Now, Harold Sherman is actually known for a sci-fi comic called The Green Man. But he was an author, but he some of the stuff that he did was researching. And this obviously being that he was in the sci-fi, realm, he wanted to do something, like this. So it is kind of interesting. I laughed when I read about Wilkins because I was like, what is an Australian being a polar explorer?
That's my bigger concern right now is why would you leave Australia and go be a polar explorer? And what were you exploring for? Like, I have questions.
I don't know. I'm curious as to seeing what, and I don't know if this was in the book. Maybe I'll have to take a look at it. But like, what were they actually writing about each other's day or thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. So they didn't document that in the book?
No, I don't know. I didn't read the book. I just know that they have the statistics of how accurate that they wore more than at that particular. I mean, this is just stuff that I'm getting off. You can get this off anywhere.
We might have to get the book.
But I do know that, from the Green Man from the sci-fi on there, but I didn't know he did this. I had no clue that he did an experiment on telepathy back in the late 30s into the 40s. But yeah, again, this is something that was always, I've seen documentaries too about warfare and having a psychic unit and agents who are behind the scenes of saying how they would go in and tell missions of where the bombs were going to hit and certain, missions and so forth. And, they didn't really say where they were getting the information. They just kind of handed a piece of paper and had to walk away because nobody took that, thing. And is it real? Does it exist? I can't imagine it not. Like, come on. I mean, if it does, it's like, if you don't know where something is, why not try to take a guess? It's what's the difference between this and a Zenner card?
How people have always said, like, there's people who aren't spiritual, who aren't awake or whatever you want to call it, that will be like, just what's your gut say? What do you think your gut is? It's telling you something. Your body is a living, breathing organism of energy that is speaking to you on a constant, right? You get a back pain, you got some gas, whatever. It is telling you something ain't right here, people. So when you get excited, you have body sensations. Like, it's not brain science. You can call it whatever you want. If it makes you feel better to say, trust your gut, then say, trust your gut. But I mean, it is energy. It is speaking to you. And, it's crazy. But back to the psychic thing, because I have to say this, and there'll be a whole other episode on this kind of crap. But did you know that up until a couple of presidents' terms ago, and I hate bringing in politics, but I have to say this because it blew my mind, that they had a psychic on staff?
That doesn't blow my mind at all.
But they're so like, what, everything's so undercover. What the hell? You have a psychic on staff and this is what comes out of this place? Like, I was ticked when I found out. Just putting it out there, letting you know. I was mad. I want to speak to the psychics. It doesn't mean, this just shows you can get psychic readings, oracle readings, whatever, tarot readings, all you want. It doesn't mean people are going to take your advice. It doesn't mean it's going to always resonate. And it definitely, I know plenty of people that get psychic readings and they're like, well, that's not what I wanted to hear. So then they don't take the advice and then they wonder why their life gets all.
Well, I think it's also really important, especially with the idea of getting a reading or a psychic reading. Because listen, I've been there. I love to get readings from other people. I love to see what they have to say or watch them. I'm more of a watcher than anything. But energy can change. So just remember that energy can change. So nothing is set in fucking stone. Nothing. Nothing. Now, if anyone ever says that to you, you walk out that door because that's bullshit.
Tanya, tomorrow you are going to accept this beautiful job and opportunity and all the money and this all going to come. And then she wakes up and says, you know what? I'm going to go make grass skirts in Jamaica. She just changed her whole path. Like, that shit ain't happening now. So
you have a will. So and I'm going to make grass skirts in Jamaica. I like that idea.
When I used to do readings, I used to tell people that. I say, listen, energy shifts. So if tomorrow you decide to get up and go move to Jamaica, what I said is now null and void. Okay.
Yeah.
There's my disclaimer.
Yeah. And you're also reading that person's energy too. So if somebody is in a really low vibration,
well, this is where discernment comes in, because,
yeah,
someone was talking to me about this in speaking of telepathy. So a lot of times, if you are not in tune with your gift and you do not realize that you are reading their fourth dimensional field of desire instead of their higher guidance of what's in their highest and best, you're going to give them what they want to hear. You're going to be reading their energy field versus pulling forth their higher guidance. So this is why you have to be discerning and say that does not resonate, or maybe that's too good to be true, right?
we should do an episode on that where you can break that down for us.
Yeah, we'll have to make that one of them. But it's the same. It's energy reading is a form of telepathy. We talked about that in the beginning. So it's really important to find people that are really in tune with their gifts. So don't just take random strangers off the street.
On the street.
The one time,
I think there was like 1,000 of them. I mean, I couldn't even tell.
like psychic readers.
Oh my God. And I'm not dissing New Orleans. I'm not dissing that, but there are a shitload of readers on the street that you're just like, I don't even know what's going on right now.
Wait, this could be a fun game. If you went to each reader, like you just pulled some money out and you're like, let's just hit them all and ask them all the same question and just
to see which one. We're doing a probability debunking on the breakdown. So we just want to see what happens. These are our questions.
Oh my God.
And the ones we don't like, we'll just discard.
Yeah.
That's what we do here.
No, go. No, but nobody else go. Oh my God. I totally love. So for those that hopped on late, you got to go back and watch the beginning, because there's a whole animal exercise that we all got to do if you got animals.
Yeah.
Report back to us. You can come back and comment on our Facebook page. You can like us on Facebook, but then you send a message to a partner. So tell me, because this one requires me to guide some people through. So what is this one about?
Yeah. So this is actually, I believe this is, even though it is the Sherman experiment, being that he was trying to send a message to Wilkins, this is a little bit more because I wanted to bring in meditation and get us all in that vibration of sending a message to a loved one. Now, I have seen a couple of different of energy readers and so forth have different techniques on, sending out a message to a loved one. But one of the key things about sending a message is how it makes you feel, because that feeling is so more energy driven than just a freaking word.
And in fact, to the point that I have to interrupt you, because I have to say, if you on the outside surface are, and this is the best example, someone says, do you want to go for pizza? And on the outside, you're like, yeah, sure. On the inside, you're like, fucking hate pizza. I don't want to do this. They're going to read the energy before they're going to believe the words coming out of your mouth. Okay. So this is why energy is super important. So carry on.
So true. So what I would like our audience to do is we're going to have Johanna walk us in so that we can center ourselves. And I want you to think of a person who you want to communicate to. Now, please allow at least 24 hours for this. But and here's the thing, when you think of this person, I want you to really think about the message that you want them to receive, but the feeling that you want them to receive.
Are these people that are alive or passed on?
Well, you know what? I don't think it makes a difference if it's passed on, because if you're open to receiving messages from your passed ons through signs or synchronicities, you're going to pull that out. They're going to see.
I think we should see it. For this. I think we should, for this experiment, I'm going to say, let's go with live people.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And I also wanted to say something, because I have to cut you off, because that's why apparently the energy that I am in right now, which I don't really like, but anyway, when you're talking about the feeling, I was shown a vision of like writing, like almost like writing it down on a piece of paper and seeing yourself hand it to them. Like a message.
So there's all different ways that some people have done it. Some people will actually be, and I've seen this too, where they imagine the message that they're holding it, they're having it, they're feeling that message, they're doing this, and then they're sending it out to the person. So that's something that you can physically do, is that you're holding the energy and you're sending out that message to the person, and you're just saying it and repeating that message. Okay. And you're going to say that and repeat that message a couple of times. But the key thing is, once you send the message, you let it go. That means you have no expectations. You don't keep checking, see if they called you. You forget about it. You go, okay, they received the message, whatever. And if you hear from them, you go, holy shit.
No, this is fun to do with manifestation too. So like putting out there, I kind of want roses, or I kind of want brownies today. And then just kind of beaconing that out there and seeing who shows up at your door with, some goods.
Yeah. So I was hoping you could walk us through. Now, of course, people who are driving or listening to this, don't do this meditation right now. Like,
I tend to be a bit potent, even though we're going to do it very short. So in an off chance you're new to me and you hear me and you pass out driving, I am warning you now. Please turn this off and come back.
Yeah. All right. We ready?
Yeah. Let me take off my beacon. Make sure everybody can receive. Okay. So am I just clearing their mind or walking them through the whole thing?
You're going to clear their mind, and then we're going to have them send out the message, let them think of their loved one and send out the message if you want to help them walk them through that.
Okay. So we're just going to do 2 deep breaths. So this is a good way to just kind of relax your body. So as you breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. Just see that energy kind of moving, your breath moving through your body. And breathing in again through your nose. And as you breathe out again, see your breath moving through your body. Just feel your body completely relaxing. Your head, your shoulders, your back. You can imagine yourself laying in a beautiful pool, the side of a gorgeous ocean, sun beating down on you, a cool breeze, just completely floating in the pool. So relaxed. Allowing this beautiful white, almost incandescent energy to begin to move down in through your crown, just erasing all of your thoughts, all of your worries, all of your to-do lists, just wiping them away momentarily, allowing that energy to move into your mind's eye. Once again, just kind of clearing things out, really allowing you to just be open to feel the breeze, the sun, to just be in this moment as that energy moves down through your throat, through your chest, just allowing you to breathe a little bit easier, down in through your belly, down your legs and out your feet. Just like a breeze, just coming through and calming and quieting everything down. And as you're in this beautiful, relaxed state, with your mind clear, feeling that breeze, feeling the warmth of the sun, hearing the waves of the ocean, you begin to connect with this person that you are wanting to send a message to. Getting that beautiful feeling, that memory, seeing them, feeling their energy. You're really wanting to share this moment with them. Just take a moment and feel their presence, see them, sense them, hear them. And what is it that you want them to know? what is it that you want them to feel? And however which way you see it or feel it or send it, begin to have that connection with them and allow that message to be sent. And now that that message has been sent, I want you to just see it beginning to drift off into the distance, fading away as something that has done and happened, and it doesn't need to be thought of again. Just fading away off into the distance. Bringing yourself back to this reality, beginning to take a deep breath in and out, feeling your body become heavy, feeling your feet maybe even in the earth, touching the ground. Breathing in again and out. Give yourself a little wiggle, a little shake, a little shimmy. Come back to me. I got high for a second there. I was like, whoa, I can't be on here long. Where am I going?
I really felt like I didn't need to know the person. I could have probably got Hugh Jackman with that energy. Just
I sent a couple messages out. I was like, let's see. We'll just throw in here. We'll throw in there. But it got real high for a second. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So we want to know within 24 hours if you guys heard from the person that you sent a message to, and let us know. Let us know if they reached out.
Yes.
We love those moments. And even if you are replaying and watching this, it doesn't have to be that 24 hours. It's whenever you watch this.
You can access, you want to come back and do this every day, go right ahead. It'll work. You just have to tap into it. I mean, the energies are still running. I can feel them. So it's really cool. But remember, sometimes you like, this is coming in, so I'm just going to put it out there. So maybe you don't hear from them in 24 hours, but like maybe like you see them a week later and they'll be like, you know what? The other day, I was thinking about you. It was so weird. And you'll be like, haha, it worked. So don't count it out, right? So just because they didn't call you and be like, you know what? I had this really urged, this feeling to be like, I love you. And I didn't take it. So
yeah. And don't be upset if you don't hear from them, because that just means that it's not divine timing. Simple as that.
Or they're not in their awareness. So let's be real. There's so many, again, we're going with the separation, but sometimes a lot of people today live in a complete state of oblivion, where we spend a long time being walking robots. So they may not be tuned in at all. So hopefully you sent it to somebody that is tuned in a little bit.
At least to your vibrations.
Yeah. I keep getting the urge to tell this story, so I'm going to make it really quick because we've been on a little bit of time. But,
yeah,
in my awakening was around 2011, but around 2013 was my first experience since a child seeing energy. And my grandmother passed away, who was she was more like a mom figure for me. And this is going to be, this story is actually is present because I just finished writing a chapter for a book that's going to be coming out later this year that I'm a co-author in. But I was sleeping, my grandma had passed away. It's been probably 7-8 months, maybe something like that. And in the middle of the night, I sat straight up. Like you would have thought that someone just took a rope and pulled me straight up. And I sat up and she was at the end of my bed. And she did not look the way that she did when she passed. She looked a lot younger. She looked like she was probably in her 30s. And you're almost in shock. You're like, because she legit looked like a person, you could tell she was energy, but she looked like a person. And she was just standing there, and you're almost in so much shock the first time any kind of thing like that happens. You don't know what to do. So I'm just sitting there, and she's talking to me, but her lips aren't moving and I hear nothing, but I know exactly what she was saying. And she was giving me a heads up about something. And it was so vivid. And I remember every word of what she said. And I remember everything of what she looked like. And I don't even remember going back to sleep. I just remember waking up and was like, holy shit, and telling my husband what had happened. So they have amazing powers, and that was my first remembrance of telepathy with not even, with someone who had crossed over, because I clearly knew exactly what she was saying. But I remember I'm like, her lips aren't moving.
You're like,
what is happening right now? So you kind of get tripped out. But I had this really strong urge, and maybe someone can resonate with that story, and maybe that's why. But these gifts are amazing. It's just a transference of energy. That's it. It's the same as a radio station picking up a tower, or a TV antenna, right? We can still put up the antennas and get the free signal, especially, when you don't want to pay $160 for Dish. No offense, Dish, but come on, let's be real. Right. So it's just picking up a signal. That's it. So we are just putting out signals, and someone's picking it up and receiving it. And
yeah,
that's it. That's telepathy.
For sure.
It's exciting.
Well, stay tuned for the next episode of Breakdown. We have to figure out what we're breaking down.
I think we should break down energy readers, like card readers, tarot readers. I think because there's so many of them now.
We should get some of our friends on if we can.
That are tarot readers or energy readers?
Yeah, readers. Yeah.
Well, if you got one, I know you got a whole slew of them, sister.
I have a slew of them. I'll have to reach out to them. See if they want to come be a guest on our show.
The lady that talks to her mom or grandma. I always call her grandma.
Oh, I love her. Yeah, I love her.
She blows up my
She's
YouTube.
busy though. She's very busy, but I can see if I can get a hold of her.
She's blows up my YouTube feed all the time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you're crazy, but that's okay. I love you. Anyway, we might do that. I'm not going to hold a hard knock on that one, but it seemed to be a hot topic when we started talking about it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? If you guys have ideas or suggestions, please reach out to us. It's circus@breakdownlive.com. You can email us. You can comment us. You can message us on Facebook. Reach out.
And we're going to put a link to the Zenner card. We'll put it in the description after it finishes processing on YouTube, so you guys can play with that and have fun. I'm telling you, it's addicting. We could have sat there all night and done that, because I was like, I'm not
gonna lie, I play that a lot. I play it a lot. I actually have my own Zenner cards too. You can buy them on Amazon. So yeah, buy a deck of Zenner cards. They're fun.
You have your own?
Yeah, I do. I have my own.
Why? How did I not know about this?
Well, they're in storage right now. I'm living like a hobo temporarily, so I don't have them. But yes, I have my own Zenner cards. There's a 25 deck. Are you surprised? I collect cards, so. All right, guys.
What's going to happen here? We appreciate you hopping on and playing along with us. And sorry again for the technical difficulties, but it happens.
It sure does. All right, till next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.